In the previous movie, I showed you how to calculate covariance for two columns of data. In this movie, I will show you how to do it for multiple columns of data by creating a grid. My sample file is 0503 multiple covariance, and you can find it in the Chapter 5 folder of the exercise files collection. I have 4 columns of data in this workbook, and you can see them over here in columns A through D. And then I also have the covariance formula over here on the right as a reminder, but we're actually not going to implement it directly. Instead, we're going to use a built-in function. It'll save us a lot of time. To start, I will click in cell G2, and I want to calculate the covariance of column 1 with itself. And no, this calculation doesn't make any sense in any real way, but what it will let us do is create formulas that we can copy to the rest of the cells in the worksheet. So in cell G2, I will type an equal sign, and I will use covariance.s, and this assumes that we have a sample instead of every possible value for our data set. The first array is A2 to A11, and I want to make this reference unchanging. So I will click inside of A2 and press F4. That would be Command T on the Mac to make it an absolute reference. And I'll do the same thing for A11, F4. Then type a comma and A2 through A11 again. So I'll just select those cells. Now I'll type a right parentheses and enter, and we get a value that actually doesn't mean anything. But that's fine because we have a base to work from now. I want to copy the formula that I just created down to cell G3 so we can compare column 1 and column 2. So I will double-click cell G2, select the text of the formula, press Control-C to copy it, then I'll press Escape, and double-click G3, press Control-V to paste, and now I want to base my calculation not on A2 to A11, but B2 to B11, comparing that to the values in column A. So I'll type B2, and then change it to B11 so I can see my 2 separate columns, press Enter, and I have the covariance of values between those 2 columns. Now I can do the same thing for column 3 and column 4. I'll move a little bit more quickly. So I will double-click in cell G4 to open it for editing, press Control-V, good, my original formula that I copied was still available, and I will change the first references from A2 to A11 to C2 to C11 and enter. Have covariance there. I'll do the same thing in cell G5, and I'll make it D2 to D11 for the first array, press enter, and there I have the covariance between column 1 and column 4. Now with the formulas I just created, I am able to copy them over to the remaining cells in rows H, I, and J to calculate the covariance for every combination of columns in my data set. So I'll select cells G2 through G5, grab the fill handle at the bottom right corner of cell G5, and I know my mouse pointer is in the right place when it turns into a black cross. So I will drag over, and there I have all of my calculations. So if I want to see the covariance between column 2 and column 3, I can go to either cell that indicates that value. So I have in cell H4 for column 2 and column 3, negative 8.17. And if I go to the intersection of column 2 and column 3, I see the same value. So the values are repeated, but creating the formulas the way that I showed you actually allows you to accelerate the process with a little bit of repetition of result.